What's up, everyone? Ben Raven. I'm here at the home base back in Michigan. Kyle Meinke's on the ground in New Orleans. I'll be back on the road for Chicago and Christmas Eve and all that. But yeah, I'm holding down the home base today. Lions are 9-3 for the first time since 1962. It's going to be another one of those talks where it's not overwhelmingly positive, though. I'm not going to beat down on them or anything like that. But like the concerns that we've talked about for the last couple of weeks are still very prevalent, still very existent. You know, they're so far ahead of the rebuild that we've really had to adjust how we look at this team. So yeah, they're 9-3. They're in control of the division. Based on how this week turns out, they're going to be pretty freaking close to clinching that NFC North before too long. But man, in a game where you're leading 14-0 when the Saints have run only one play, you go into the second quarter up 21-0. 21-0. You should be in cruise control. I don't mean taking your foot off the gas, but that thing was done. The Saints fans were booing Derek Carr every time he took the field, and they were cheering every time Taysom Hill took it. And I like Taysom Hill too, but he's a glorified tight end, fullback / playmaker guy. So that's dark days in New Orleans right now. But yeah, 33-28. My concerns with the secondary are still very strong. I too am growing concerned with Aaron Glenn, not to the point that you guys are, nowhere near. I'm not calling for that guy's head. I think he's a much better defensive coordinator than what he's looking for, but I do think it's time to try something new in the secondary. I think I've said this on our Dungeon and Doom podcast. I've written it in stories. I've said it probably here multiple times, but Jerry Jacobs is not a CB2. That should not be your number 2 cornerback for a playoff team, for a team that's going to face guys like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. The list goes on in the playoffs. If you want to win in the playoffs, you're going to be facing the game's best playmakers. And I mean, hey, Jerry would be a great rotational role player at this stage of his career. I'm not saying that someday he couldn't be the guy that deserves every single freaking snap of the game, but right now it's not. Teams are picking on him. Teams are going to him. When they get in the hole and they go past happy, they start looking for 23, and that's kind of what happened today. It's been a rough stretch for him for sure, but yeah, that pass to Olave to the pylon. I mean, Jerry got beat from the snap to the finish of that play, and he never turned around to see it coming. So, and that's kind of where I got tied up on my own words talking about Aaron Glenn here, because I'm frustrated with their personnel. I'm frustrated with what they have available to them in the secondary. They signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They signed Emmanuel Mosley. Those guys were expected to fill those holes. Mosley was supposed to be CB2. C.J. was supposed to be slot god, safety, moving all over the place and being that energy piece on defense. But, like, those guys are gone. And you look at the Eagles. You look at the Niners. What did they do at the trade deadline? They added pieces to fill holes. Brad Holmes has done a miraculous job turning this thing around, but not accelerating his thinking to where this team is at right now as a contender at the trade, not making a move at the trade deadline, not adding cornerback depth, not adding maybe another pass rusher. Props to Bruce Irvin today. He gets a sack in his team debut, the 36-year-old. Also, the roughing the passer call that knocked out Derek Carr for the game. My goodness, Carr was evaluated in concussion protocol while also being looked at for shoulder and back injuries. So, yeah, Bruce Irvin still got the juice in the tank if he's hitting people like that. But putting all your thoughts into that basket at the trade deadline that's your upgrade. I have a problem with that. I do have a problem with that. And I think Aaron Glenn is taking all of the heat. He deserves a lot of the heat, no doubt about it. But I think he's getting way too much heat because he's being forced to play Jerry Jacobs every snap. That's not good. That's not good. Jerry is a perfect run stopper guy to play near the line, play some in the slot, play some outside if you need him to. That rotational CB3 type guy. That's how the Packers beat the Lions. They attacked Jerry. He was the only cornerback that got targeted more than 3 times in that game. Teams are picking up on that. Teams are attacking that, and I don't know what you do to truly mask that. That's a talent thing to me. That's a personnel thing. That's a roster hole thing to me. Yeah, they tried to fill those holes, but it didn't happen. I just ranted about that for 5 minutes. I just get so many hate tweets about Aaron Glenn. Yes, it needs to be better. Yes, there needs to be more adjustments. But guys, he kind of got hung out to dry at the trade deadline, you know? I mean, they lost two very key pieces that this team was built around, expected to have for this run, and they're not there, and no reinforcements came. And and it's still the same every week in and week out. Now maybe they feel very strong in their convictions that Jerry is the second best cornerback on this roster available right now, but it's concerning. That's concerning. Let's run through this. Get a little more game specific. The Lions win 33-28. Obviously, they jump out to that 21-0 lead in the first quarter and then just cling to life. And I mean, this was a weird, unenjoyable football game to watch because even though it ends as a one-score game, I mean, my goodness, the flow of this game, just the overall, I don't use this word much, but just the overall vibe of this game was just off, not enjoyable, miserable, terrible football. I mean, my goodness, the Lions won this game. The quarterback injury, Derek Carr also fumbled. It wasn't a lost snap. He fumbled it while hitting his pulling guard on the hip. The Lions turned that into points. Props to Jameson Williams. Zoom boosters on that end around reverse touchdown run. Love to see that. He about leaped out of the Superdome into the end zone too. But it's just an ugly game. I mean, seriously, the poor sideline chain marker guy taking the gruesome leg injury, stopping the game for 10, 15 minutes. Like, hey, I hope that guy's all right. I hope the NFL takes care of him. I hope the Saints take care of him. That was a terrible. Nobody look up that replay, but just a weird game. And I had obviously the defense really kind of let the Saints back into this game, but I felt weirded out a little by Ben Johnson's planning. It's like he didn't check the score. He didn't check the scoreboard for like the first 10 minutes of that second half. There, he was calling the game like the Lions were still up 30 points or still up 3 scores. Excuse me, but I'm gonna check the comment. I actually got to come in. Yeah, no, a win's a win. Hey, I'm telling you, they're 9-3. I just we're at the point where you have to rebalance expectations because this is a good team. This is a team that could win games in the playoffs. This is a team that should win their division. This is a team that should host playoff games. So I kind of have to adjust my thinking like that too. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here a little bit. I did a little play-by-play for wrestling last night. Shout out Combat One, but doing my best to power through. But my goodness, just a strange game. And then props to Jared Goff. That third down completion with the game on the line. He's not the best at creating time. He's not the best off script, but my goodness, he got out of the pocket, moved up, moved side, took a big hit Josh Reynolds in stride, and that put the game away. And I mean, that's just for a very up and down game for the quarterback. That was a big play and a big moment. Josh Reynolds, that's 5 games in a row, less than 20 receiving yards for him. That's tough, but hey, one of the biggest plays of the game in that one. And yeah, they survived the Jameis Winston experience there. I mean, man, his 2 best throws of the game were bouncing off the defenders' bodies and almost alley-ooping into touchdowns. But yeah, all over the place in this video breakdown. I needed to talk about Aaron Glenn. I needed to talk about the lack of additions at the trade deadline because that's what's sticking out to me when I watch these games. It's like, man, this team needs another cornerback. Man, this team needs another pass rusher. Good looks from Bruce Irvin today. But like, I have such a hard time counting on him down the stretch. I mean, he's 36 with a ton of tread on those tires. Looked great today. And if he's got 10, 15 snaps like that until if James Houston can come back, the Lions will take that. But reinforcements aren't coming at pass rusher. Reinforcements aren't coming at cornerback. And that's a hard situation for Aaron Glenn. I think you guys really need to take that into account, is that he's basically got the same secondary that he had last year. Add in Brian Branch, which is a big addition, but like on the outside, it's Cam Sutton, who's doing a great job, but it's Jerry Jacobs, who is a liability right now, who is part of opposing teams' game plans every time they play the Lions. The good news, the Lions are back inside the division next week, a chance to kind of get the bad taste out of their mouth after a win. Like, seriously, pay yourself on the back. Like, we're talking negatively after Lions wins. We have come so far. So remind yourself of that. But yeah, they're in Chicago next week. What is it? It's Chicago next week on the road. Back home Saturday night because the NFL hates everything against the Denver Broncos. And then Minnesota Christmas Eve, Dallas. New Year's Eve, and then back home against Minnesota to end the season. The Lions are 9-3. I believe the Vikings are off. Let's just do our peek around the NFC North right now. Yeah, the Vikings are off, the Packers are off, and I'm pretty sure the Bears play later. So we'll see what happens there. But the Lions, after that win today, I think that's a 3-game lead in the division. It's December. The Lions have a 3-game lead in the division. The 49ers and Eagles are playing right now. There's playoff seeding to game. There are home playoff games to clinch. There's a lot to play for. You obviously want to see just man, you just want to see this team perform better for a full game. You know, they're just glimpses of brilliance, and then I think they get away from their identity sometimes. I feel like they're still kind of figuring that out too, because yeah, just a really up and down ride today. Because I don't think that Saints team is very good. I was not worried about this game at all from a Lions perspective. So a little concerning. You know, I kind of have that Saints team just a nick above the Bears in my head in terms of. Yeah, I know that's a little rough, but yeah, not feel good, don't feel great. Good things, bad things at display here. They survived. They found another way to win. The real bad news is the Frank Ragnow injury. That's not good. That's not good. He's one of the game's best centers. He's one of the best guys in that locker room. He's a true leader. He's a true warrior, and him missing time is tough because Colby Sorsdale's not ready for NFL action right now. Coyote Awashika has not seemed ready when he's gotten his chances too. So it'll be interesting to see. Graham Glasgow held things down at center in Ragnow's absence, out in front on that JMO touchdown. But yeah, that's a big injury to watch for sure. But Lions are 9-3. They win 33-28. Disgusting game. Erase it from your memory. Go watch the 49ers and Eagles and hope for a good football game, because we just lost 4 hours of our lives that we're never getting back. And I got more writing to do. We're going to see what Dan Campbell had to say. But thanks for coming along to my rant session here. Yeah, I'll be back with the team in Chicago next week. So the full crew will be boots on the ground again. But mlive.com/Lions will have all the good stuff that we usually have for you. Kyle and I are going to connect for a Dungeon of Doom podcast here before too long. So the beat goes on.